Hello and welcome. You are listening to English Unlocked, a calm, real-life English podcast. I'm Natalia. Here, we speak slowly. We use simple, real English. English that feels natural, not stressful. Today, we're talking about something very important, not only for learning English, but for life. We're talking about self-love, self-confidence, and self-acceptance. Take a slow breath. You don't need to change anything right now. You don't need to improve yourself. You don't need to become better to deserve calm or respect. Many people think confidence means being loud, speaking fast, always knowing what to say. But real confidence is often quiet. It's the feeling that you are allowed to be here, that your voice matters even when it's soft, that you don't have to explain yourself all the time. Self-love does not mean loving everything about yourself. It means not fighting yourself every day. It means saying, "I'm not perfect, and I don't have to be." In real life, people doubt themselves a lot. They compare. They overthink. They replay conversations in their head. You might think, did I say the wrong thing? Do they like me? Why am I not like others? These thoughts are very common, and they don't mean you are weak. They mean you are human. Self-acceptance begins when you stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What do I need right now?" Sometimes the answer is rest. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's kindness toward yourself. Confidence grows slowly. It grows when you keep small promises to yourself, when you listen to your limits, when you allow yourself to learn instead of judging yourself. In English, we often say, "Be kind to yourself." It sounds simple, but for many people, it's the hardest thing. Being kind to yourself means you don't speak to yourself like an enemy. You don't use harsh words inside your head. You don't punish yourself for mistakes. Mistakes are not proof that you are not good enough. They are proof that you are learning. Self-love is not a destination. It's a relationship with yourself. And like every relationship, it needs time. It needs patience. And it needs gentleness. You don't have to feel confident today. You don't have to feel strong. It is enough to stay, to listen, to let these words be with you. English can be calm. Learning can be gentle. And you are allowed to take up space exactly as you are. Let's continue. Self-confidence often starts in very small moments, not in big speeches, not in dramatic changes. It starts when you notice how you talk to yourself. For example, when something goes wrong, what is your first thought? Do you say, "I always mess things up. I'm not good at this. I'm so stupid"? Many people use these words automatically. They don't even notice them anymore. But these words stay inside you. They shape how you feel. They shape how safe you feel being yourself. Self-love is learning to pause before these thoughts, not to fight them, not to judge them, just to notice. You might say instead, "This is difficult for me. I'm learning. I did my best with what I knew." This is not lying to yourself. This is being fair. Confidence grows when you feel safe inside yourself, when you know you won't attack yourself for every mistake. In relationships, self-love is very important too. When you don't accept yourself, you often look for approval outside. You might try to please everyone. You might be afraid to say no. You might stay silent even when something hurts. But when you respect yourself, you start to notice your boundaries. A boundary is not a wall. It's not being cold or distant. A boundary is simply saying, "This is okay for me. This is not okay for me." In English, people often say, "I need some time. I'm not comfortable with that. I'd rather not." These are calm sentences. They are not aggressive. They are honest. Self-acceptance also means accepting your pace. Some people learn fast. Some people need more time. Some people speak confidently. Others speak quietly. Your pace is not wrong. Your way is not wrong. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are. In moments of doubt, it can help to ask yourself, what would I say to a friend right now? You would probably be kinder, more patient, more understanding. You deserve the same tone. Self-love is not about becoming someone new. It's about allowing yourself to be who you already are. And confidence doesn't mean fear disappears. It means fear doesn't control every decision. You can feel unsure and still move forward. You can feel nervous and still speak. You can feel imperfect and still be worthy of love and respect. Let these ideas settle quietly. You don't need to remember every word. Just let the feeling stay. We'll continue. Let's go on. Self-love also shows up in very ordinary days. Not only when you feel strong or inspired, especially when you feel tired, when you feel unsure, when you feel like you are not enough. On those days, confidence is not loud. It is gentle. It sounds like it's okay to rest. It's okay to slow down. I don't have to prove anything today. Many people think confidence means always being positive, but real confidence allows all emotions. You can feel sad and still respect yourself. You can feel angry and still stay calm. You can feel lost and still trust that you'll find your way. In relationships, this kind of self-trust changes everything. When you value yourself, you don't need to chase love. You don't need to beg for attention. You don't need to disappear to be accepted. You can be present as you are. You listen, but you also speak. You care, but you also protect yourself. This balance is very important. In English, people often use soft but clear language to show self-respect. I feel uncomfortable when. I need to be honest with you. This matters to me. These sentences are simple, but they are powerful. Self-acceptance also means accepting your past. Things you said, things you didn't say, choices you regret. You don't need to relive them every day. You can say, I did what I could then. I know more now. I'm growing. Growth doesn't erase the past. It gives it meaning. Confidence grows slowly, like trust. You build it by keeping small promises to yourself, going to bed when you're tired, stopping when you feel overwhelmed, saying yes when you mean yes, saying no when you mean no. These small moments teach your nervous system, I am safe with myself. And that feeling is very deep. You don't need anyone else to give it to you. You create it inside. When you speak English, this inner safety helps too. You don't panic about mistakes. You don't rush your words. You allow pauses. You know that being understood is more important than being perfect. Let your English be human. Let your confidence be quiet. There is no rush. We'll continue. We continue slowly and gently. Self-confidence is not something you wake up with one morning. It is something you build through experience. And experience often comes from doing things while you feel unsure. Many people wait to feel confident before they act, before they speak, before they try. But confidence usually comes after, not before. You speak even if your voice shakes. You try even if you're not sure. You show up even if you feel uncomfortable. And afterwards, something changes. You realize, I survived this. I handled it. I'm still here. That realization is powerful. Self-love means allowing yourself to be a beginner. In life, in relationships, in English. Beginners make mistakes. They pause. They search for words. And that is normal. In English, people often say, I'm still learning. I'm figuring it out. I'm not there yet. These sentences show honesty, not weakness. When you accept where you are, you stop fighting yourself. And when you stop fighting yourself, your energy returns. Confidence also grows when you stop comparing. Comparing your life to others, your progress to someone else's progress, your voice to louder voices. Everyone has a different path. Some people move fast, some move slowly. Neither is better. Self-acceptance means respecting your own rhythm. In relationships, this matters a lot. When you accept yourself, you don't try to become someone else to be loved. You don't perform. You don't hide. You allow real connection. And real connection needs honesty. Honesty sounds like, this is how I feel. This is what I need. This is who I am right now. Simple words, clear meaning. You don't need dramatic language to be honest. You need courage. And courage is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It simply stays. Let these ideas sit with you. You don't need to agree with everything. You don't need to change anything today. Just listening is enough. We're still going. We continue. Self-love is often misunderstood. Many people think it is selfish. They think it means putting yourself above others. But real self-love is not about ego. It's about balance. It's about knowing that your needs matter too. When you don't respect yourself, you may give too much. You may stay quiet when something hurts. You may agree when you want to say no. Over time, this creates tension inside. Confidence grows when you allow yourself to be honest. First with yourself. You might quietly admit, I'm tired. I don't like this. I need a break. These sentences don't make you weak. They make you aware. Awareness is the beginning of change. Self-acceptance also means accepting your emotions as they are, not fixing them, not pushing them away. You can say, I feel anxious right now. I feel insecure. I feel overwhelmed. Feelings are not commands. They don't tell you what to do. They are signals, and when you listen to them calmly, they often soften on their own. In English, emotional language is usually very simple. People don't say big words. They say, "I'm not okay today. I'm having a hard time. I feel a bit off." This kind of language is gentle. It invites understanding. You don't need to explain everything perfectly. Sometimes just naming a feeling is enough. Confidence also grows when you stop apologizing for who you are. You don't need to say sorry for taking space. You don't need to say sorry for having limits. You don't need to say sorry for learning slowly. You are allowed to exist as you are. This idea is very important for language learners. You don't need to sound like a native speaker. You don't need to be fast. You need to be understood. And understanding grows with patience. Self-love teaches patience. Patience with your emotions. Patience with your progress. Patience with your voice. You are not behind. You are not late. You are in the process. And the process is enough. Stay with the calm. Stay with the sound. We're still continuing. Self-confidence deepens when you begin to trust your inner voice, not the loud voice of fear, not the critical voice that doubts everything, but the quiet one, the voice that says, "This feels right for me. I need to slow down. I'm allowed to choose differently." This voice is often very soft, and many people ignore it for years. Self-acceptance means learning to listen to it again. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need a clear plan. You just need to notice what feels calm and what feels heavy. Confidence grows when you respect that feeling. In relationships, this inner listening changes the way you connect. You don't rush into things to avoid being alone. You don't stay silent to keep the peace. You don't lose yourself to be loved. You stay present. You say things like, "I need time to think about this. I want to be honest with you. I don't feel ready yet." These are strong sentences, even though they sound gentle. Strength doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to convince anyone. It just needs to be clear. Self-love also means allowing yourself to change. You are not the same person you were before, and that's okay. Your needs may be different now. Your priorities may have shifted. You are allowed to grow out of old versions of yourself. In English, people often say, "I'm not the same anymore. I've changed. I see things differently now." These sentences are simple, but they mark important moments. Confidence is not about staying the same. It's about trusting yourself through change. You can feel uncertain and still move forward. You can feel afraid and still choose yourself. Self-love is not something you achieve once. It's something you practice every day in small ways, by resting when you need rest, by speaking kindly to yourself, by listening instead of judging. And every time you do that, your confidence grows quietly. No one may notice it at first, but you will feel it. And that feeling is enough. Self-love also means giving yourself permission to be seen. Not perfectly, not confidently every time, just honestly. Many people hide parts of themselves because they are afraid of judgment. They stay quiet. They stay small. They wait for the right moment. But confidence doesn't come from hiding. It comes from allowing yourself to exist openly, even when it feels uncomfortable. You might say, "I'm nervous about this. I'm not sure, but I'll try. This is new for me." These sentences are real. They don't pretend. They build trust. When you speak like this, people often respond with understanding because they feel it too. Self-acceptance also means letting go of the idea that you must always be strong. You don't have to handle everything alone. You don't have to be okay all the time. You can say, "I need help. I'm struggling a bit. I don't have the energy today." These are not signs of failure. They are signs of awareness. In English, asking for support is usually very simple. People say, "Can you help me? Can we talk? I need someone right now." Short sentences, clear meaning. Confidence grows when you know you don't have to carry everything by yourself. Self-love is also about forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for what you didn't know before, for what you couldn't do at the time, for choices you made while trying to survive. You can say, "I forgive myself. I did my best. I'm learning." These words are powerful. Even if you say them quietly, you don't need to convince anyone else. You just need to hear them yourself. Confidence is built in moments like this. Quiet moments, private moments. When you stop fighting yourself, when you stop demanding perfection, something inside you relaxes. And from that relaxed place, your voice becomes steadier. Your choices become clearer. Your English becomes calmer too. You don't rush. You don't freeze. You speak when you're ready, and that is real confidence. We're still moving gently forward. Self-confidence grows when you learn to stay with discomfort instead of running from it. Not forcing yourself to like it. Not pretending it isn't there. Just staying. Discomfort often shows up when you try something new. When you speak in a meeting. When you say what you really think. When you show your true feelings. Your body reacts first. Tight chest. Fast thoughts. A quiet voice inside saying, "What if?" Self-love means you don't judge that reaction. You don't say, "I shouldn't feel this." You say, "This is how it feels right now." And you breathe. Confidence is not the absence of discomfort. It's the ability to stay present while it exists. In English, people often describe this very simply. "I'm a bit uncomfortable. I feel nervous. This is hard for me." These sentences are enough. You don't need to explain everything. Self-acceptance also means accepting that you will be misunderstood sometimes. Not everyone will get you. Not everyone will agree. And that's okay. You can still respect yourself. You can still say, "This is my perspective. This is what works for me. This is how I feel." Confidence does not need approval. It needs alignment. Alignment between what you feel and what you say. When those two are close, you feel grounded. This is true in relationships. And it's true when you speak English. You don't need to sound impressive. You need to sound like yourself. Pauses are okay. Searching for words is okay. Speaking slowly is okay. Your pace is not a problem. Self-love teaches you to stop rushing your own process. You allow learning to happen gradually, naturally, just like trust, just like confidence. Over time, you begin to notice small changes. You hesitate less. You judge yourself less. You recover faster after mistakes. These are signs of growth, not loud growth, quiet growth, the kind that stays. Stay with this feeling for a moment. You don't need to do anything with it. Just let it be here. Self-love also means learning how to rest without guilt. Not rest as a reward. Not rest because you are exhausted. Rest because you are human. Many people feel they must earn rest. They think they need to do more, be more, prove more. But confidence grows when you allow yourself to pause. Without explanation, you might say quietly, "I need a break. I'll continue later. Today is enough." These sentences are calm. They don't justify. They don't defend. They simply state a need. Self-acceptance means trusting that your needs are valid, even when no one else confirms them. In relationships, this is very important. When you respect your own energy, you don't expect others to fill you up. You don't demand constant attention. You don't disappear either. You stay balanced. You give when you can. You rest when you need. This balance builds quiet confidence. You stop proving your worth. You start living it. In English, this balance often sounds like, "I can't today, but thank you. I'd love to, just not right now. I need some quiet time." These phrases are polite. They are clear. They respect both sides. Confidence is not pushing. It's clarity. Self-love also teaches you to let go of perfection. Perfection creates tension. It makes you afraid to start, afraid to speak, afraid to be seen. But life doesn't wait for perfection. You can speak English with mistakes. You can express feelings with simple words. You can be understood without being flawless. And when you allow yourself that freedom, something softens inside you. You feel less pressure, less fear, more ease. This ease is not laziness. It's trust. Trust that you are allowed to learn slowly. Trust that you don't need to impress. Trust that being real is enough. Confidence grows in this space. Not suddenly, not loudly, but steadily. You don't wake up different. You notice that you react differently. You speak more gently to yourself. You recover faster. You stay present longer. These changes matter. You are not becoming someone else. You are coming back to yourself. Stay with that feeling. We're still moving forward, one calm step at a time. Self-love becomes real when you stop waiting for permission. Permission to rest. Permission to speak. Permission to take space. Many people live as if they are waiting for someone to say, "It's okay now." But that permission can come from you. You can say, "I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed to take my time. I'm allowed to learn slowly." These sentences are not loud. They don't demand attention. They simply ground you. Confidence grows when you stop negotiating your worth. You don't need to earn respect by being perfect. You don't need to deserve kindness by being productive. You are worthy because you exist. This idea can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to pushing yourself. But discomfort does not mean something is wrong. It often means something is changing. In relationships, self-love shows up when you stop abandoning yourself, when you don't ignore your feelings to keep things smooth, when you don't silence your needs to avoid conflict. You might say, I feel uncomfortable with this. I need to talk about something. This matters to me. These sentences are calm. They don't attack. They don't blame. They simply express truth, and truth, spoken gently, is strong. Self-acceptance also means letting others be responsible for their reactions. You are not in charge of how everyone feels. You are not responsible for fixing everything. You can be kind without carrying the weight of everyone else's emotions. This is an important part of confidence. In English, this often sounds like, I understand, but this is my decision. I respect your feelings. I still need to do what's right for me. These phrases are respectful. They are balanced. They don't explain too much. They don't apologize for existing. Confidence doesn't need many words. It needs alignment. Alignment between what you feel, what you think, and what you say. When these three are close, you feel steady. And when you feel steady, English flows more easily. You don't rush. You don't freeze. You trust that your voice can arrive in its own time. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be in this moment. Stay with that thought. Self-love also means learning to be patient with your own process, not pushing yourself to arrive somewhere, not rushing to become a better version of yourself. Just allowing growth to happen. Growth is rarely visible day by day. It happens quietly in the background. One day you notice you speak to yourself more gently. Another day you notice you don't panic as quickly. Another day you notice you don't give up as fast. These are signs of confidence, not confidence that shows off. Confidence that stays. Self-acceptance means you stop fighting who you are today, while still caring about who you are becoming. You can hold both. I accept myself now. I'm still growing. These two ideas can exist together. In English, people often express this balance very simply. I'm doing my best. I'm learning as I go. I'm figuring things out. These sentences are honest. They don't rush the future. They respect the present. In relationships, this patience changes how you connect. You don't demand answers immediately. You don't force clarity. You allow conversations to unfold. You say, let's take some time. We can talk about this later. I'm open to understanding. These phrases create space, and space is essential for trust. Self-love also teaches you to stop measuring yourself by external results, by productivity, by approval, by comparison. Instead, you begin to notice how you feel inside. Do you feel calmer than before? Do you recover faster after mistakes? Do you speak to yourself with more kindness? These internal shifts matter more than visible success. Confidence grows from the inside out, and this affects your English too. You stop worrying about sounding perfect. You focus on being clear. You allow yourself to speak slowly. You trust that understanding comes with time. Language learning becomes less about performance and more about connection. Connection with the language. Connection with yourself. You're not forcing English into your life. You're letting it become part of it. Just like self-love. Quiet, steady, present. Stay with this calm rhythm. Self-love does not arrive suddenly. It doesn't change everything overnight. It grows quietly. It grows when you stop arguing with yourself, when you listen instead of judging, when you allow yourself to be human. Confidence is not something you put on. It's something you feel when you stop pretending. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to be certain. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to stay present with yourself. Learning English can feel the same way. You don't need to rush. You don't need to compare your voice to others. You don't need to prove that you are good enough. You already are. Every time you listen calmly, every time you allow English to come to you slowly, you build trust not only with the language, but with yourself. Self-acceptance is not giving up. It's choosing kindness over pressure. And kindness changes everything. Your voice becomes steadier. Your thoughts become softer. Your learning becomes lighter. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to yourself. This is English Unlocked. Real-life English, spoken slowly and clearly. I'm Natalia. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying.